All right, so tell me this, how are you controlling the ablation zone? So when I'm using New Wave and I'm burning a liver tumor, I am controlling my ablation zone based on the number of probes and by adjusting the wattage and the duration of the burn. How are you selecting or controlling an ablation zone with the Imprint system using just one probe?
Yeah, so there's kind of a variable in terms of the wattage and the time. So you can adjust the wattage and the time, obviously, which you can do with anything. But one of the kind of really important things, and we were talking about this, is that Imprint actually has a software that will actually kind of show you in real time, right after the CT scan. It'll transfer over to a second computer and show you exactly where your ablation zone is going to be. Now, I don't know if that's available to everybody, but I'm hoping that Medtronic makes it available to everybody. I've told them to because I think it's an incredible tool. The software, it kind of takes a lot of the guesswork out of like where the ablation zone is.
Which is one of the challenges with microwave ablation in general.
Exactly. And that's why a lot of people, even for like kidney tumors, will prefer cryo. And I get it, right? Because you can see the tumor, right? You can see the tumor, but you can see your ablation zone. But, with this software where it'll basically kind of give you a zone that you can actually play with, and you can kind of increase your zone and decrease your zone, see how wide you can get it, make sure that you get at least 0.5 centimeter margins. So that software, I think, is, and again, we're very blessed that we have it. There are certain places across the country that do have it, and I would encourage you, if you are an Imprint user, or even if you're not, if you're interested, reach out to these guys and be like, hey, I want the software, give me the software.
See, that'd be super helpful for me, especially in the kidney. I guess that's why I'm using cryo there a lot of the time. It's not like when you're dealing with a small little peripheral tumor where you can just put one probe in and blast it and that's it. But, with a larger tumor, you want to be sure you got it. And that's one of the reasons I like cryo is that it takes away the guesswork.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, and I use microwave for kidney pretty much as well.
I do both.
Yeah. So, I think it's one of those things also where at a certain point, the practical aspect also has to come in, as well as the big thing for me is also bleeding risk, right? Because there's data out there that says that with microwave, there's a lower bleeding risk than cryo.
I believe it. And certainly microwave is much faster.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to get to. We're like the whole, the reality is that we have like multiple cases in the day, right? You're putting these patients under anesthesia. Like, you want to obviously do it safely, but you also kind of want to do it as quick as possible. A lot of times when I'm burning with, the Imprint, like, I think the longest I've had to burn is maybe 6 minutes, especially in the kidney, because you can crank that up to 100, 150 watts and the ablation zone will kind of cover exactly what you need. Since we're talking about kidney, the one thing that I will still do, this is kind of a leftover from my cryo days, I will still pyeloperfuse. I don't know if you do that or not. This goes back to me being kind of a cautious guy. I will tell anesthesia like, hey, can you just open up that bag of saline and just let her rip? Because I want to make sure that, we're kind of protecting the calyx as much as, the collecting system as much as possible. I don't know how we got on the topic of kidney, but, it's fine. They might, but that's okay. One other way, actually, if you don't have the software that you can kind of figure out where your ablation zone is going to be is there's actually an app. Imprint has this app where it's funny. This was actually kind of my entry into this because one of my colleagues was like fascinated by the app and was like, Baig, you got to look at this. You got to look at this app. And I was like, okay, like that's cool. It's an app. And he was like, look at this. I can change the wattage. I can change this. It's going to tell me exactly how big my ablation zone is. And I was like, honestly, I poo-pooed it a little bit, but like looking back, like I kind of love it, And, so if you don't have the software, you can kind of play around with the app and play around with the wattage and the time. And just on your CT, just kind of, and I don't know if this is considered archaic or whatever, but just draw it out, use the measuring tool and literally just draw out, okay, from the tip back, this is how far the ablation zone is going to be. And from side to side, this is the ablation zone. Am I going to cover the tumor? So that's kind of just another way of doing it.
See, that seems very helpful to me. And to me, that's probably the most important part of my ablation is planning it out, mapping it out, how I'm going to get the probes in, how many I'm going to use, what direction I put them in, and how long I'm going to burn. This sounds extremely helpful for a planner like me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, listen, we all are to a certain extent, right? No matter how much, no matter how much we say, like, yeah, we'll just wing it. We're all looking at cases the night before. We're all looking at cases in the morning, just being like, okay, how am I going to approach this? Like, where am I going to go? Am I going to go ultrasound? Am I going to go CT? Like, it's just how we got here. That's how we were trained. And like, I think it's a good practice. And I think like you said, for planners, like all of us, like, I think it's important.